Bond here for another live arm wrestling Q A today. It's a nice sunny day down here in Brisbane, Australia, wherever you are in the world. Hope that it is as nice as it is here because it is my favourite day today. Wednesday is the day where I head in to see the Brisbane Heavy Hitters Arm Wrestling Club of a Wednesday night. A bunch of us get together. We got a good club going on too, which is pretty awesome. So we get a lot of good guys like Danny Tash and Jordan Davis and all those sorts of fellas. So g'day to everyone who is just tuning in now. It is, of course, the live Q&A today. So if you have any questions for me, start shooting them through. G'day, I am seeing. Hope you're well, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Guys, start sending through your questions for me straight away because I don't actually have any pre-arranged questions. I know a bunch of people. There we go. First questions come through, which is awesome, from Aglo Kalma. Aglo, thank you so much. Any tips on how to treat golfer's elbow? Golfer's elbow. Remind me, Aglo, is golfer's elbow inside or outside of the forearm? But I guess to me, look, it is really largely irrelevant because I would treat whether it was golfer's elbow or tennis elbow the same way. So I did go through a lot of that pain when I was first involved in the sport. When you first get involved in arm wrestling, all that temptation to pin causes a lot of aggravation on the tendons that run through the same. Cameron Smith, mate, keep that workout going. Good on you. Thanks for joining in. But yeah, so the way that literally where your tendons run through that elbow is the tendons go. My understanding is that the tendons go through the same sort of canal as a lot of the nerves. So that golfer's elbow feel is just basically inflammation of the tendons pressing on the nerves. And because of that, you get this kind of toothache feeling all the way down your arm from your hand to your shoulder. Can't even lift up a coffee cup, all that sort of stuff. But so the way that I treated it when I was going through all of that pain was just reps. Okay, so whatever is causing the pain, I go to that angle. So this is a principle I use to rehab every injury that I've ever got and any soreness in any connective tissue that I've got in the arm wrestling sense. Basically, I pick the angle that's causing the most pain and I gently rep that angle. Just gently, gently, gently. Never go so far that you're getting acute pain, but you will need to get blood flow to those tendons essentially. And the best way of getting blood flow safely to a tendon is to actually go through the angle that is actually causing the pain. Just do it nice and gently and then yeah, it's all good. So that's how I treat golfer's elbow. But I know that patience is another good thing, man. Aglo, it took about 1.5 to 2 years of me in the sport of arm wrestling before that pain disappeared. So I can understand where you're coming from, and rest assured that the very vast majority of arm wrestlers go through some degree of initial pain, and you'll get through it. It'll come good. Your connective tissue will be ready, and you'll be fine. So good stuff. Thanks for that opening question. Guys, if you have any other questions, send them through. Here we go from Cameron Smith. I literally had 3 gym rats come up to me thinking I'm a New Year's resolutioner because I'm doing arm wrestling workouts here. And you look like a psycho. Absolutely. There's nothing funnier than doing arm wrestling specific stuff in the gym. You can imagine what people would be saying to me as well. All those static lifts I'm doing with my arm angle quite high. People would be laughing so much when they see me in the gym like that. But that's all right. All good. Just need to wear one of these t-shirts and then no one will bother you. It's all good. Yeah, but it's one of my favourite things to do is literally to go into regular gyms, do an arm wrestling training session because you get some weird looks, that's for sure. So this t-shirt in general, you get weird looks. A lot of people size me up and go, don't think so. Because, yeah, at the end of the day, I don't look that big. But anyway, we know what would happen if we gave these gym junkies an arm wrestle. Good stuff, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. So I guess I'll give you some categories of things you can ask questions about. Is that a real sport? Yeah. I've got the Travis Bajent stuff coming up. G'day, Gennaro Marino. I hope I said that right. From Argentina. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. I really appreciate the love, man. So what does everyone think of the new pound for pound show that I'm putting out? So if you haven't seen that, what I'm doing, of course I've got my daily arm wrestle. I think I put out episode 118 earlier today, which is going well, but I've got a new episode new show. So sorry, that I'm calling the Pound for Pound Show, which is basically just a talkback, give my opinion on something sort of topical that's going on, whether it be a super match that's coming up, or whether it be just an issue that's going on in the arm wrestling world, or anything kind of thing. I think that for me, the goal of that is to just, again, spread the word of arm wrestling. I think that we just need to treat social media. We need to, as a sport, I think the key to getting the world to recognize the fact that we exist is just to use social media like as if we are a media channel ourselves. So we've all got this opportunity, it's all free. Just get out there, give your opinion on whatever's going on, and just doing that, just literally giving your opinion on whatever's happening in the world of super matches or anything like that, and putting it out there, edit it up as best as you can. Even if you can't edit it, stick it out there anyway. Your friends are going to see it, and slowly but surely we can collectively grow the awareness of the rest of this planet when it comes to the sport of arm wrestling. So yeah. So does anyone have any specific arm wrestling questions, training questions, technique questions? This is your time, because I get a lot of questions throughout the week from people wanting to know specific questions on training or on technique or on counters. And there we go. All right, we've got a question here from Saragossa. Can wrist thicken through arm wrestling? Absolutely, man. I can tell you right now that when I meet a lot of people who are new guys in the club, they might grip me and they think, oh, gee whiz, you're strong. And they'll say, oh, you mean your hand and wrist is so strong? And then I'll then look down at my wrist and they'll say, yeah, but look how thick your wrist is. And they will pull, and they'll say that a lot of people will assume that the reason I'm good at arm wrestling is because I've got a thick wrist. I can tell you right now that my wrist has added about 1.5 inches over the 5 years that I've been arm wrestling. So definitely. Obviously, we're not talking bones. We're talking just thickness in like muscle tissue going all the way up into the top of the wrist, and definitely just the tendons and the ligaments, everything just thickening up without a doubt. And I know that 1.5 inches is there because of a watch. I have a steel clasp watch that I had that I haven't worn since I started arm wrestling, because I started arm wrestling and naturally wearing a steel clasp watch was getting in the way when I was arm wrestling. So when I first started arm wrestling, I took this watch off, put it aside, and I came back to it about 6 months ago, and sure enough, no way could I put this watch on, and I measured the difference, 1.5 inches difference. How many times a week do I train my wrists? I think I just saw that one. Hang on 1 second, I'll get that back up. Yes, from Gennaro, how many times do you train your wrists a week? Yeah, that's right. I am live at the moment, but I got someone coming over to say good day. This is Kezia. Kezia and I work together on a other channel, so Kezia, just quickly here. If you've got any arm wrestling questions for Kezia, she's an expert.
I've got some great advice.
Great advice.
Don't go this way, or you'll break your arm.
Yeah, that's good advice.
You know.
Good advice. But all good, Gennaro. So in answering that question, how many times do I train my wrists a week? I do it daily. I've always trained hand daily, hand and wrist.
This is what he does. I've seen him.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but
to be honest, I consider hand and wrist the most important strength in arm wrestling. It's where you win leverage. It's where you take away your opponent's access to power. So training hand and wrist is a daily occurrence for me. And yeah, Kezia, is there anything you need?
No, I was just saying goodbye.
Oh, goodbye. Have a good one. See you next time. Alrighty. Good stuff. So Kezia and I we just did a live video on the other channel that's no longer mine. I usually say that on my other channel, but that's right.
I'm going to take you off admin.
I just quit my other channel. Anyway, right, back to arm wrestling. See you, Kezia. Back to arm wrestling. So yeah, the reason I train daily, I have a couple of philosophies. I know a lot of people talk about overtraining, and they talk about how often should you train a certain muscle group and whatnot, and I know that my opinion on it is a little bit different to popular opinion, but there's two reasons why I think this way. When I was 18 years old, my first job out of high school was a labourer for a builder. In my first week of labouring for this guy, I was more sore than I've ever been before. I was absolutely so sore after the first week. I've never been more sore. Every muscle, every connective tissue in my body was so ridiculously inflamed and sore. Now, come week 2 of the job, you can't just ring your boss up and say, hey boss, I'm not going to come into work this week because I'm sore. No, what do? You just kind of get over it. You just go in anyway and you just push on through. And sure enough, week 3 comes along, you're a little bit less sore. Week 4, barely sore. By week 5, you're not sore anymore, and it's all second nature. So no rest, yet you become conditioned. Same thing happened when I was in the military. The military has a training philosophy where they really don't care for your feelings. They really don't care if you're sore and tired. They say the war's not going to stop, you just got to keep on going. So I've experienced 2 things in my life, that job and the military and its sort of training principles, that really showed me that training every day, the same thing, results in a greater amount of strength in a shorter period of time. There is a greater risk of injury, but as long as you are aware of how to stay safe, and I'm not talking about lifting maximal lifts every day, I'm talking about training the same movements every day and just going down to the necessary levels of weight. So I'm doing my static hold, for instance, daily at the moment, but I do a lot of it at about that 40% of my 1 rep max weight level. So training every day for me is a must. All right, what else we got? I can see Stephen Kirkland retracted a message. Question from Desi. Hi Ryan from Italy. Any tips for the 1-hand heave? Yeah, Stephen Kirkland's saying he trains his hand every day. Good on you, Steve. And Stephen Kirkland is a weapon. If you don't follow Stephen Kirkland, go and check him out on Instagram and YouTube. He is an absolute weapon. Dude is one of the most conditioned people on the planet. I have no doubt. All right, so Desi's asking any tips for the 1-arm heave. The 1-arm heave for me is just all about. I actually don't try to do a 1-arm heave where I'm lifting up. I just try to maintain my hold. I like to just hang from the top position. I'm weighing 94 kilos, so I'm too heavy currently for myself to be able to pull myself up, but I can hold myself for about 5 or 6 seconds in a hooked position. I like to have the strap looped just right there, rather than just holding it on in the fingers. I loop the strap over my hand so it feels very much like I'm hooking and dragging at the same time. So the key to anything is have a structured sort of progression plan. If you can't yet do a 1-arm heave, either use bands or assistance, or do weighted 2-arm heaves until you're doing double your body weight. All those different ways, man. But I would just basically recommend that you set up a structured progression and hit those muscle groups daily, get it conditioned, and yeah, the heave will come. What else we got? Cameron Smith. My bad for keep bothering you, but I've been thinking, do you think it would be good for an idea to train arm strength for 1 week and then wrist and hand strength the next week and repeat? Cameron, it is a windy path. The path to being an elite arm wrestler, there is no set way. I would say play it around with it, feel out what works. If you've got an hour and a half that you can dedicate to the gym every day, experiment as to what feels best in that hour and a half. For me, I have been in the habit of training my hand and wrist daily. I've been doing hand and wrist daily for 5 years. Arm for me comes and goes. It's pretty rare that I do what I'm doing at the moment, but I'm really enjoying training my static hold at the moment and getting a lot of progress there, so I'm enjoying that. But hand and wrist, arm, look, I don't think there's a right and wrong. As long as you're in the gym, you're staying safe, you're not being injured, and you're working on those specific strengths for arm wrestling, it's going to happen. You're gonna good. The other thing that I would say is make sure you use your table time. A lot of people use their table time incorrectly. A lot of people don't get a lot of time to get table time. They might only get it once a month or once a week or whatever. I get table time twice a week at the moment. Table time is not your time to get strong. Table time is your time to get smart. Okay, use table time, back off your pressure, stop trying to pin people, back off your pressure, and just start experiencing angles and start experimenting. I like to even shadow box where I pretend that I'm somebody else. I might be John Brzenk for the night, I might be Devin Lara, I might be Prudnik, I might be Zoloev. And what I mean by that is I try to arm wrestle the way that those guys do. And even though it may feel foreign to me when I'm doing that, I ask myself the question, why do these guys go to this position? And I search for the answer. I search for what are they achieving biomechanically when they go there. So the more time you spend arm wrestling in that way, you're going to become really instinctive on the table, and you're going to be more effective come tournament time. So don't use table time as your time to get strong. put the ego aside. It's not a competition at training, although a lot of us like to feel as though it is. Just happily take the losses in all these other people's positions and start logging in your brain all the different counters, but get strong in the gym. All right, let me have a look. There was a couple more questions. Who do I want to pull in the future? Aglo. Man, Aglo, there is a long list of people that I'd love to pull in the future. I'm sitting at 95 kilos at the moment, which is what, 210 pounds. Who would I love to pull in the future? If I could pull anyone right now, right arm, I would love to pull. I would love to pull Toddzilla. Toddzilla would be great. I would love to experience that. Europeans, I'd love to get some experience with some Europeans as well. If all goes well, I will be at the WAF Worlds this year. I've qualified to represent Australia at WAF Worlds. That would be an absolute blast. I've been to WAF Worlds once before, back in 2015. I think I won three rounds there. Finished. I think I finished about 15th or something. But that was 2 years ago. I'm now 4.5 years into the sport, so I feel like I've conditioned a hell of a lot more in that time, and I'm definitely at the WAF level, ready to go deep. Danny Tesh, he's always been a good measuring stick for me. He's been someone that's finished in the top 10 at WAF, and he's beaten plenty of big names, and I'm matching up with him quite well now. So what do we got here? More questions. Do you like the way of training of Toddzilla? Todzilla's one of the reasons why. Okay, look, I'm going to take a step back. I think Toddzilla is one of the strongest people on the planet. I'm going to say that about Todd. I'm going to say, from what I heard from Justin Bishop when he came out and stayed at my place, he described Toddzilla as ferociously strong, and I believe every bit of it. And it's obvious that he's strong because he pulls from such compromised positions and yet still wins. So Toddzilla, I would say, is probably, I know, 100% respect him as one of the strongest arm wrestlers on the planet. I don't think that Todd moves as well as he could. I think that he has a lot of gaps. He's quoted as saying you could learn everything there is to learn about arm wrestling in half an hour, and then you just got to get stronger. So his game plan is usually pretty one-dimensional, and I think therefore he loses to people like a Rustam Babayev, because Rustam Babayev, I don't think Rustam Babayev is particularly stronger than Todd Hutchings. I think that Rustam Babayev just analysed Todd's game, knew what Todd was going to do, and technically ripped it away from him very, very quickly. And you'll see in that super match that Todd Hutchings didn't change his angle. He tried the same thing 6 times. So I think that Todzilla's training method is hands down one of the best when it comes to getting strong. You want to get strong, do what Toddzilla does, but you also need to invest a lot of time into understanding the sport. So it's a balance. But look, Todd's one of the best on the planet. No one's going to take that away from him. So he's got there on the back of strength and I guess a moderate level of technique. So if he was to, I think Todd could just kind of press pause on being strong, and just, if he invested like a couple of years into just mastery of all the different angles, man, he'd be dangerous. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that one. Toddzilla destroyed Zoloev. Did I say Zoloev? I meant Babayev. Rustam Babayev. My apologies if I said Zoloev. Rustam. Yeah, alrighty. Anyone? What else we got? What else we got going on? Send us some questions, guys. Anyway, if not, I'll just start talking about random stuff. What can I talk about? Travis. Oh, my next big comp is the Arnold's Classic in Australia, down in Melbourne. It's going to be a big one. I'm competing in the 95 kilo class. We've got the best from Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia, China, and that's all going to be happening on March 17. So I've qualified again to represent Australia in the 95 kilo category. So really looking. I think I'm probably one of the favourites. I think I'd say I'm probably in the top 3 when it comes to favourites. Danny Tesh, the fellow from China, and myself, probably the 3 that are most likely to have a crack at winning. So really looking forward to that. Another question come through. What do we got? From Gennaro. How many seconds do you recommend to train static holds? Mate, as long as you can. Pick a weight as long as you can. Like my 1 rep max, it's not about holding. It's about just getting it off the ground for any period of time. I get it off the ground, I consider that a success. When I then drop it down to like my, say 80%, if I'm doing 80% of my 1 rep max, I would expect to be holding it for 20 or 30 seconds. And then when I drop down to sort of 40% of my 1 rep max, I'm not holding it, I'm just doing reps. Alright, what do we got? Another one. You change or stop training a short time before a tournament. Yeah, I do. I have my typical taper before a tournament starts at about 2 weeks out. I'll stop stretching myself about 2 weeks out. I'll stop lifting heavy, and I'll just go down to all light weights, so nothing above 40% of my 1 rep max. And I'll do that for high reps. At about the 1 week mark before comp, table time will stop. And keep in mind, when I do my table time, it's really sensible table time. There's no pinning. It's just awareness. It's more planning. Table time, remember, for me, table time is about technique and awareness and strategy. It's not about getting strong. So table time for me continues up to about a week, and I only train with the specific people when I'm coming up to a tournament that I know are good and understand the way that I want to train. And I go into full rest mode where I do nothing for about 5 days. And in that 5 days, no physical movement other than just shadow boxing. I just will sit there, visualize. I spend a lot of time visualizing and actually running through my game plans and getting things happening in that sense as well. Sorry guys, I'm losing my voice a bit here at the moment. Man, time flies when you're on YouTube Live. I can't believe I'm on 22 minutes already. Guys, what I'll do is I'll put a call out for one last call for questions. Whoever gets the next question gets the last one. Stephen Kirkland agrees with me on the table time mode. Thanks, man. Yeah, table time. It's crazy to just be sitting there thrashing around, pinning each other and getting hurt. Yeah, guys, seriously, go follow Stephen Kirkland's pages on Instagram in particular. I love watching Steve. He's a freak when it comes to strength, and he's a lovely guy too, from what I can see. Haven't met him in person, but would love to. Alright, well guys, there isn't any last questions coming through, so what I might do is I'll wrap it up, but thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I'll try to keep these things going. I want to do my live Q&As mostly on YouTube. I'm going to keep my sort of edited content rolling out on Facebook. But do guys tune in on Instagram and Twitter as well if you want to keep up with what I'm doing. You can grab me on both of those. I'm pretty new on the Twitter side of things, but I'm going to invest some time and energy there as well. And the last question from Cameron Smith, I will answer that one. Where did I get my green and grey table from? Mate, my dad built it for me. My dad built the vast majority of tables in Australia. He doesn't do it anymore, but that's where he got them from. So if you're after a table, just I'm not sure, Cameron Smith, which country you're in, but if you're in Australia, hit up the Australian Arm Wrestling Federation. They'll point you in the right direction. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys again next time.